One of the most beautiful writing tools that we as calligraphers use is the quill. And unlike in the movies where the scribe or the monk is working with something like this, which always looks wonderful, in reality our quill is somewhat less beautiful. We chop the top part off, leave ourselves with a shaft of about 6 or 7 inches, and this is how we would make our writing tool. The first thing is there is a fine coating, a film on the outside, so we need to scrape all that away. Now you don't need a special knife for this. In fact, you would not want to use the same knife that you're going to use to cut the quill. It will dull the edge. So any old X-Acto knife or pen knife or sharp knife would work. Once we've taken away all that coating, we're ready to start actually making our quill. The way I begin is looking at the underneath of the feather, the shaft, and it has this little channel in, this little seam here. That I will call the underneath. I'm going to make 2 cuts, diagonal cuts across the end, one from the underneath and one from the top. Inside you can see a filament which is inside the shaft, and with a pair of tweezers or whatever you need to pull that out. That is what we've pulled out. And now to start the split, I put the X-Acto knife in. This is the top part of the quill. Make a little twitch upwards, which has formed a split. And now I'm going to carefully shape away, and I prefer to shape from the underneath, pushing away from me. Many other calligraphers and scribes, of course, use the traditional method, which is this. I've never been comfortable with that way, so I'm afraid I do it by pushing. I've made this scoop from the underneath, and now I'm going to make a couple more scoops to actually form the writing point of the quill. You can see this looking more and more like a pen nib each time we make a little cut, until we have it to the point where it's about the width of writing tool we are looking for. And now the critical part, which is putting the final edge in with which we would write. Putting it face down on a piece of arborite or plexiglass or whatever you have, we're going to make this diagonal cut, cutting away from us. Little push and you can hear the snap. It has to be absolutely clean across the end. This needs a little more work. It's a little bit ragged. So we'll do another cut. That is much better. You can see how clean that is across the end. And the final thing is to make a reservoir to control the flow of the ink. For the reservoir, I'm using a piece of thin aluminum which comes from a pop can, a soda can, or a beer can, whatever. A long, thin strip, about 1.5 inches or so long, one end of which is close to the width of the point of the quill. So they're about the same width, right at the end. I'm going to do 2 bends, 2 curves. One curve going that way, the other going the other way. So we finished up with this curly S-shaped piece of thin aluminum. I'm bending the back end of that over to form a loop. So we insert the reservoir in the shaft, so it's about 1/16 of an inch from the front. Then we're going to add our ink behind the reservoir, and we should be ready to write. Having cut our quill and put the reservoir in, as I just shown, we now need to put in some ink, and here I'm putting in a couple of drops of Chinese ink, to which I've also added a bit of water to make it flow quite freely. And here's the test. Is it going to write?